Hey, welcome into the Next Level Podcast. I'm Nic Tate. And you may ask, what is the Next Level Podcast? Well, it's a podcast in which myself and Joe wanted to start, and we have started it, obviously, where we weren't limited to the content that we created. So on this podcast, we can talk about anything. We can talk about current events. We could talk about other podcasts. We could talk about what's like today. I'm going to talk about some success factors. But if you look at the guys, they have their music in the Legend of the Airwaves podcast, and they're kind of talking about their past and music and some movies and TV shows from when they were growing up. And then, of course, we have the Smash Mouth Footballers podcast, and we're limited to fantasy football, and we're kind of in that NFL, niche. But with this podcast, everything's on the table. And today, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Now, these two factors of success, they apply to everything in your life. It could be your health. It could be about your business. It applies to everything. It applies to your friendships. And that's the God's honest truth. It applies to anything. These two factors are implied in everything. So let me start with, let's say that it's 2026 and we just started off and I want to get a certain physique going. Today I have a plan. And my plan is I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to do this workout regimen. I'm going to eat these foods, right? And let's start off with the fact that I never made this decision to better myself. Well, every day for the rest of my life, I will regret that I never took the step to be successful in my health by not doing this. Now that I've planned it, will I be disciplined enough to put it in progress? And that's the thing. I'm going to have to get up every morning. I'm going to have to go to the gym late hours. I'm going to have to eat certain foods. I'm going to have to refrain from eating other foods. And that's the thing that's really, it's all about, right? So if I get up every morning and it sucks, right? It does. We all know it. I mean, if you have ever done this, you know it sucks. 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm at the gym. Get home, take a shower, get the kids ready, go to work, so forth, so on, right? Get home late, tired. Got to go to the gym. Got to eat certain foods. Can't eat after a certain time. It all sucks. Or every day of your life, it will suck and you will regret something. And don't tell me that you don't regret, because every person out there regrets not making the right choices at some point in their life, right? I mean, as a teenager, did I make the right choice going into college or joining the military or whatever it may be? And, now I'm here, but I could have been there, and I have several children. I've tried to teach my children, these are the mistakes that I made, and I don't want you to make these mistakes. And of course, they have to live their own lives. I can't make those choices for them, but I'm trying to keep my kids from making better choices than I did, that I made regrets for, that I regretted, that I didn't do certain things. Maybe you knew about Bitcoin when Bitcoin first came out, and you were told, hey man, for $500, you can have 2,000 Bitcoin. It's the way of the future. And you're like, man, nobody wants fake money. And then guess what today? If you'd have bought those 2,000 Bitcoins, you'd be a millionaire. You need to spend $500. But there's always going to be opportunities out there, guys. There's always going to be the opportunity for you to make a different choice. You can change your life today and make a choice that will change your life for tomorrow. But you can make a choice today that will traject your life into a whole different place starting right now for the rest of your future. I want to kind of reference a person. It's Jim Rohn. If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, he is a millionaire, or was a millionaire, who passed away. But he referenced the Bible, and he kind of collaborated it with business as a business model. And believe it or not, I enjoy listening to all his stuff. Another one that does it as well is Myron Golden, and he's a great guy to listen to as well. But Jim Rohn once said, income never exceeds your personal development. And that's true. He would say you have to work harder on yourself than you do your job. Because the better person you become, the better you are at exceeding in everything in your life. So if I want to be a woodworker, and I don't know nothing about woodworking, or maybe I know a little bit about woodworking, can I become the best, woodworker? Can I create a business through woodworking, through something that I'm not even hardly knowledgeable at? No. So I have to become disciplined. I have to set a plan in action, set goals, and then I have to put it in action. And then I have to learn. I have to teach myself mentally. I have to become stronger mentally. I have to stay up late nights. I have to watch videos that I don't want to watch. I have to take classes that I didn't want to take, or maybe I do want to take, I just don't have time for. Life is always hectic for all of us. And nowadays in the new social media world, it just seems like the pressure is always on, no matter who you are. But the thing is, without your personal development, without becoming better at who you are in the aspects of what you want to be, you'll never be successful. Or you may be limited in your success. My son wants to go to the NFL. My son goes to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. And it took a lot of me dragging him out of bed and getting him on his feet and saying, hey, bro, we got to go to the gym. And taking him to the gym, showing him what workouts, showing him what form to use so he doesn't get hurt. And then teaching him that when he didn't want to learn it. He thought it was just going to be easy. And then there were plenty of days he dragged and he didn't want to work out. He didn't want to do that. He was tired. He stayed up late. He played video games, where it is. And then the more I pushed him, eventually it became a habit for him. And then he knew what it took to get to that point, and now he does it on his own. And it's the same aspect for everyone. Discipline is where everything has to start at. You have to become disciplined and proficient in everything that you do to be successful. I have a buddy of mine, Sean. We talked about this, and Sean, I was there when he decided to start up his own welding company. And we talked about it. I was there when he got his LLC. He says, this is what I enjoy doing. I know he believed in himself. And that's another thing you have to do. You have to believe in yourself. No one's going to believe in yourself more than you. It doesn't matter if it's your wife, your mother, your best friend, whoever it is. People will doubt you. And you have to believe in the path that you choose. And he did. And he has. And, he started the company. He would work a couple days a week. He had gone to school. And we're in our mid-40s at this point. He's going to school. He's teaching himself. And then we're working at a job. And one day he looks up and he says, I was told if I don't put 100% in, I don't get 100% out. And believe it or not, that goes back to another thing that you can look up for Jim Rohn is reaping what you sow. Is you have to plant the seed for it to grow. And if you don't plant 100 seeds, you're not going to get 100 trees. If you plant 50 seeds, you're only going to get 50 trees, and you may get less than that. You may get 25. So you always have to put in so much. So eventually that sunk in, and Sean quit his job. And then now he owns his own welding company. He's living off the money that he makes on his own, and he's doing better than he did at his job. And at this point, we've talked about it, and he's talking about expanding. That's his next hurdle. And he's learning, he's asking other businesses, we've talked about it, how to expand. And again, this goes back to regret and discipline. He's disciplined enough to teach himself something he didn't know, but he could have been regretful today if he never made the choices and the sacrifice. He made a lot of financial sacrifices, a lot of late nights, because when he was starting his business up, he was working 10, 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. You know why? Because he was working at his job, and then he was working, 4 or 5 hours a day at his business, trying to get his business going. And that was the discipline that it took for him not to regret later that he never made those choices. So for you out there who want to become something completely different, who want to be better at, maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you want to be a power lifter. Maybe you want to learn to ride motorcycles or jet skis or drive a boat or go hunting. All these things, if you never have done them before, you'll never do them unless you start, unless you learn. And you got to start somewhere. And it's never too late. There's always opportunities. You can be 57 today, and tomorrow you can change your life. But if you never do it, if you never put a foot forward, you will always regret the choices you never made. So I hope this helps you guys out there. We're going to be talking about a lot of success factors going forward. These are one of the things I truly enjoy. I'm actually going down that journey myself. So as I go down that journey, I want to kind of implement some of that into this podcast. But on the next one, I'm sure we're going to have a couple of current events. We're going to have a couple of podcasts we're going to talk about. I know Joe will be here, and I hope you guys tune in. Well, until next time, I'm Nic Tate.